Okay, so we've seen a lot of hype about Pokemon Legends Arceus, but there's a massive fear as to what features and things will be present in the games. There have been hints and things pointing towards there being Mega Evolutions in the remake games Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl. However, there are no concrete things pointing towards Mega Evolutions in Pokemon Legends Arceus. However, I think it is still worth to go over some of the possibilities of what we could get if Megas were to be included in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Some of the possible, Pokemon that might get them and that sort of stuff, as well as how they can be utilized in the general, open world of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Mega Torterra. Now, yeah, it makes sense that one of the starters should get a Mega Evolution. The design on screen here was made by PokeJMon on Instagram and Twitter, showing off a general idea of what a Mega Torterra could look like, getting a massive defensive boost to it, making it more viable as a Pokemon. But since there are no competitive battles in Pokemon Legends Arceus seemingly, it would make sense that perhaps you could ride atop of the tree on this Torterra perhaps as a sort of mount, which would be pretty awesome. Now again, we don't know how inventory management and all these things would work, but I would imagine it would be a pretty cool thing if you could use Torterra as some sort of almost like how people used horses back in the day, right, to carry things. So what if you could use Torterra as something like that, right, to carry around massive logs and stuff if you got to build a base, something like that would be really cool for Mega Torterra, as it would be large and I would assume very strong. Mega Infernape has to be next. Again, designed by PokeJMon, and here we have as well an Infernape that looks far more ready for a battle, like a battle of strength than a normal Infernape, in a stance ready to pull out some crazy martial arts. I could also imagine Infernape being useful for when you need to do climbing in Pokemon Legends Arceus, perhaps hanging onto its back while it climbs a mountain. As we've seen from some of the leaked images, it would be cool to have an option similar to something like this, right? Like you as the character would ride atop of the back of the Pokemon like that while it climbs up a mountain that's very steep, which you perhaps cannot climb up yourself. I'd find that this as a concept would be pretty awesome. And since, technically speaking, if we go back to Diamond and Pearl, the one of the few fire types that existed was Infernape was one of the only ones, and Rapidash, those were pretty much the only options you had. It would be pretty cool if if you have a Infernape that if it's a Mega Evolution, maybe you can even use the normal one to perhaps start fires and stuff for when you want to make food and stuff like that. So I think it would be a pretty cool concept. Then we have Empoleon with, once again, another design made by PokeJMon. And the way we have a clearly more icy looking and ready to crush some ice type of design. And perhaps this could be the task of Mega Empoleon, having it, be used to break through ice while out and about, surfing around the Sinnoh lakes and the water around Sinnoh itself, the actual ocean around it. I mean, its claws look insane here. They just look like something that would be really useful if you want to break down something large, for example giant blocks of ice. It just seems to make sense in my mind. I don't know about you guys, but it seems logical for what I can see here. Just using this to break through a bunch of ice would make a lot of sense. Next is the Mega Evolution for Darkrai. This was made by Highshire in terms of design, and with Darkrai as a concept, that would make sense if for example, if Darkrai over time lost its Mega Evolution, over the history, as it sort of evolved and as far more humans came to Sinnoh, its Mega Evolution maybe faded away, perhaps being drained out due to the immense amount of humans inhabiting the island at this point. Now, I don't know in what sense that would work, but some sort of history like that, having some interesting lore bits in here would really make for a kind of a better journey and experience, in my honest opinion. Just having this sort of thing where hey, these Pokemon lived here in a specific way in the past, but they've changed over time due to the increase of humans. The way they look has changed, the way they act has changed. A lot of these things would be really cool if they actually did change over time due to the influence of humans. And now imagine Darkrai, who feeds upon, nightmares. Now imagine if there weren't many nightmares from the Pokemon it could feed on, but then there's loads of the human ones, and there's no reason for it to Mega Evolve anymore because it's strong enough just from the human nightmares. Or perhaps it gained its Mega Evolution from Pokemon nightmares, but human nightmares are more tasty but don't allow it to Mega Evolve. I don't know, some cool things like that I think would be really awesome. Just some weird lore bits, which of course this is just me kind of pulling out of a hat some ideas, but something along those lines would be really sick. And the final of the optional Mega Evolutions we could get out of my personal ones that I want, I think it's got to be Mega Luxray, which I think makes sense. I'm overall a big fan of this Pokemon, and since we have seen that Shinx is roaming the fields of the ancient Sinnoh of Legends Arceus, I would assume that Luxray is going to be there as well, and I'd find it a pretty awesome thing if we were actually also able to Mega Evolve like this Pokemon and actually mount atop of it as well to ride around on this like somewhat faster, I guess, version of Luxray around the island with its help. Like that's one of those things that I think would be freaking fantastic to see. Just the idea of having such a much faster Luxray that you can explore the whole region atop of it would be just an awesome, like just an awesome concept in my mind. Because honestly, like we've seen like mountable stuff within, you know, Breath of the Wild. We've seen mountable things in like other similar, you know, open world games and stuff like that. Like usually open world games have some sort of mount or car or vehicle usually that you can, you know, access to allow you to, you know, kind of traverse the area you're within, the open world, much faster. I mean, GTA 5 is an example, or any GTA game actually, where like, of course, you're able to take any car to traverse the actual island or place you're at. Usually it's islands in GTA, I've noticed, but basically just that ability, that option would make a lot of sense in my personal opinion. So we've now spoken about like the possible Mega Evolutions that I think would be cool to see, like kind of a more of a wish list of my own of some of the Megas I'd like to see. I mean, there's probably more I could cover, but I just don't feel like it's really that necessary in this video. So, you know, bear with that. If you guys have any specific like Mega Evolutions that you think really should be in Legends Arceus, leave them in the comment section down below. I'd love to see what kind of like Pokemon from whether it be Sinnoh or other regions that you think should get Mega Evolutions within Legends Arceus perhaps, or if not Mega Evolutions, maybe some other forms. Like whatever ideas you have, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to see what you guys can come up with. So definitely leave them down there. I'd love to see what you come up with, but that's not all I wanted to talk about today. I want to also talk about the idea of Mega Evolutions in general. Now, how likely are they to show up in Legends Arceus? Now, I would argue kind of unlikely. Now, the reason I say this is because these games are clearly not going to be doing the normal Pokemon stuff, you know, of including like, you know, unique features that are, you know, like, or not unique features, but like, you know, just kind of the, the gimmicks, right? That's kind of what we refer to them usually. These gimmicks will not really be probably a factor in these games. I think the only factor might be like boss Pokemon, which we've seen from that one leaked image. That seems like one of the things that might be included, and it only really makes sense because this game looks to be very similar to something like Breath of the Wild and Genshin Impact. And if it's similar to those games, then it only makes sense, like 100% makes sense that they will, on top of including, you know, all the other stuff, would include like boss Pokemon. But Mega Evolutions, on the other hand, are a bit of an iffy fact. They're kind of in their own timeline, and they've usually only been present in like what? If we genuinely look at it, they've been present in the Mega timeline, which includes like X and Y, or starts from X and Y, right? In terms of like the games, it starts from X and Y. It's in, you know, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which is like part of that other timeline, the, you know, the Mega timeline. And then you also have, I guess, included in the Mega timeline, I guess we have, do we have Sun and Moon, I guess, or something along those lines? But I know we for a fact have Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, right? So what has mostly been included there has usually been like the, you know, it's just been like the very recent games, but like, you know, also pretty distant games now that you think about it, because it's been ages now since like those games came out and whatnot. It's like years have passed. So the idea of Megas returning for a almost like a pre-make, right? A pre-make to the Sinnoh region, I don't know if that would make a lot of sense, but I think it would be a cool concept that if Megas made it to this version of Sinnoh, right, if maybe people brought it from other regions, because, you know, I mean, we've only really seen Pokemon included so far from like what, Generation 2, Generation, so like we got Cyndaquil, we got Rowlet, and we've got Oshawott, right? Those are the starters, so those are from their respective, you know, generations, so that we haven't seen anything from Generation 6 in particular here that would imply, or even Generation 3, which would imply that there would be any Mega Evolutions. So there's no guarantee, but I'd love to know what you guys think about this. Let me know in the comment section down below, and bye bye.